It's time for me to start learning how to grow a baby.
Welcome to the Content Couple Podcast. Short, casual conversations about self-help, self-improvement, health, change and mindfulness.
We're a couple with a shared passion for personal development and the pursuit of knowledge.
We use our daily city commute to share with each other and you, our audience, what we have learned from audiobooks, podcasts, books and other content.
Join us as we step outside of our comfort zone and discuss what we found helpful in our quest to bring the best versions of ourselves to every day.
Where we would prefer to be recording this from the beach, please be aware we are recording this podcast in the car and you may hear the occasional sound of traffic or Ashy cursing fellow commuters.
Our hope is that you take away one thing after listening through this podcast that will help you with your own personal development journey.
Hello everybody and welcome to episode 4 of the Content Couple. My name is Matt and I'm joined by my beautiful fiancé.
Hi everyone.
You're not going to tell us who you are, Ash?
My name's Ashley.
Thanks, Ash.
I think they get that by now.
You think they do?
Yeah.
We can't assume there's going to be new listeners every day, maybe.
Hi everyone. My name's Ash.
Welcome everybody. I hope you're having a wonderful day. And today's topic, based on my initial discussions with Ashley this morning, is about something that will be very important to women generally, probably more specifically those women that are planning on having babies in the future or are planning to get pregnant imminently, really. Doesn't really matter whether you're planning to do it now. I think it's important to a lot of women. And Ash is the person that's been listening to this, to apparently a podcast. Ash, if you want to tell me and the audience, what did you learn today?
I suppose on a more introductory note, obviously, you and I are getting married in 9 weeks.
Yes.
And we plan to start trying for children pretty quickly after we have been on our honeymoon.
Yep.
So I'm kind of gearing up now that it's time for me to start learning how to grow a baby.
Ooh, how to grow a
How
baby.
to grow a baby.
Maybe that
how
should
to
be
make
the
a baby.
title. Maybe that should be the title of this
How
podcast.
to grow a baby.
How to grow your baby.
And it's interesting because it's something that I've not really been super into before I met you. I think I was always pretty like, I don't
Get
know,
there
I could
when
have
it
a
happens.
baby, I could not have a baby. I'm not super fussed either way. And if you can remind me at some point to come back to that, because there was something interesting that I learned in the podcast regarding that.
Yep.
So I wasn't expecting the book that I spoke about last podcast, being the Bruce Lipton Biology of Belief book, to even go into anything about this, but there was a whole section about beliefs and the way that they affect the child in the womb, and then also when the child's outside of the womb, which I like.
You mean the beliefs of the parent?
Yeah, like what the mum's thinking, what the mum's feeling, and the way that that chemically translates to a baby in the womb, which I guess on the surface seems like an obvious thing, but it wasn't something that I'd thought about at that more biological level, and it gave me a good understanding of how that works. So we have to have a very, very calm environment
When you are pregnant.
When I'm pregnant, yeah. So that was a very interesting thing to listen to as part of that book, which I've finished now. And I think I came out of listening to it just going, I just had my mind blown wide open.
Yeah.
Once I got through all of that biological, scientific stuff, and it got a bit sort of more broader and a little less down in the lipids and proteins and all of that, and more in the stuff that I can relate to. Yeah. It was a great book, and I highly recommend everyone to listen to it.
So it's the Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton, which can be found on Amazon and on Audible.
Correct.
Yeah.
And this morning, by chance, I had backed up in my things to listen to on the podcast. You know how you can say, put that in the play up next.
Yeah.
So I'd loaded all,
like your wish list,
a whole bunch,
if you like. Yeah.
So that I didn't have to sort of look at it and think about it every morning or something, and just play that it. was a topic that I'd already decided I would be interested in listening to it.
Yeah.
And one popped up, and it was, again, Dave Asprey, Bulletproof Radio, my new fave. I just love it.
Current fave.
Honestly, I don't know. I can't see myself not listening to anything else until I listen to that entire, however many hundred episodes he's had. I think it goes back. I think he started it in 2016. So we could be talking about Dave Asprey for a long time.
Yeah. But, so until you've exhausted all the topics that you personally find interesting, we'll probably be talking about that podcast.
So apologies in advance if this just starts to get, become the All About Dave Asprey show. But anyway, he had a guest speaker on who was or is a medical doctor, also a naturopath. So she's got both sides of the training. I forget her name, but I can add that later.
Yep.
She, funnily, or the podcast that automatically started playing this morning was, funnily enough, another one that was sort of about pregnancy and babies and the impact of pregnancy and having a child on a woman, and a lot of it being more of the hormonal, biological stuff as well, as opposed to beliefs. It wasn't so much about that.
Okay, so it's not it even though that belief is a part of it, that whole Bruce Lipton, your thoughts, your stress levels will impact your physiology.
Yeah. But it's not like you can meditate yourself out of having unbalanced hormones and things like that. Yeah. Especially if you're not a monk who's been meditating and has that kind of mind-body control down pat, as opposed to your everyday modern woman who's having a baby and then expected to be back at work within 6 weeks. So so this podcast played, and not only did they talk about that, they went into the pill, what you don't know about the pill, what your doctor isn't telling you about the pill, and
is this contraception in general?
Pill. Yes.
So it doesn't matter really what, because I know there's a whole range of contraceptive approaches.
The pill in general.
Yeah, okay.
And just disclosure, not to say that we are experts or doctors or
definitely not.
Anything in any.
We're not offering anyone any medical advice or advice of any sort. You should definitely seek the advice of your doctor.
Yeah, and anything that we say is not to be taken as any kind of medical advice. But yeah, it was sort of, and it was stuff that I'd known. Obviously, I haven't been on the pill for, I think, probably 12 years now. It was something that I immediately realised a couple of years, it wasn't immediate, but a couple of years into taking it, I realised just what it was doing to me.
Yep.
And I tried a couple of different ones, and they all had some pretty major impacts on my mood. I felt like very depressed on the pill, and just felt completely disconnected really from myself. So I made the decision 12 years ago not to take it, and the research that I've done since, which has all been in that sphere and that, biohacking and understanding our body and our hormones, I am so happy that I made that decision all those years ago, because I think that there's women today in their 30s and their 40s that have been on the pill since they were 16 years old. That was when I first got prescribed the pill.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to come back to, I've just reminded myself now, was there was this interesting thing about what the pill does and the way that it sort of is so artificial and what it produces. One of the major things that someone gets prescribed the pill for is to have a regular period. So when the doctor gives you a pill...
Which doesn't make a lot of sense, does it, when you think about it?
No, so then you have this artificially induced period, which isn't really the real thing, and it messes around your hormones completely.
What do we know, just a question, do we know what hormone specifically the pill is known to affect?
Well, it depends what pill you're on, I think.
Because obviously there's the estrogen factor.
Yes, but I think it also impacts on your testosterone as well.
Okay.
So I think if you have too little testosterone, you're going to be crying a lot, because the estrogen obviously takes over or takes the stage, because there's not enough testosterone balancing it out.
Yeah.
But one thing about the pill that they were saying is when you take it and you start having this artificial period, your mitochondria is like this part of your brain, right, that seeks out a partner based on them being like a really good genetic match, like looking at it and going, oh, this guy, this like my mitochondria is recognizing this, my bacteria is did I say it was a part of the brain?
Yeah.
No,
it's a cell, isn't it?
Part of your cell.
Yeah.
That at that cellular level will look at a partner and go, yeah, look, this is my petri dish. And look at his petri dish.
That makes sense.
That's going to make a really good baby, and that's going to be our best chance for, continuing the lineage. So when you take the pill, you disrupt that. Your mitochondria can't see that, and what you end up doing is being attracted to people that are like your family, basically, like people that have your biology. So you essentially start getting attracted to your cousin.
So it's like being inbred, but not marrying someone that, not being attracted to people that you're necessarily directly related to, but you don't have similar genes to.
Genetics, which means you're not then going, okay, well, I've got all these good genes, but I'm lacking in this area, but that person, my mitochondria knows, has all the cons all the pros that are my cons. So, like, he would be a great match. So
that's a scary concept.
So you block that ability of your, inner biology to go, yep, that person's good. End up getting in a shit relationship because you've been attracted to someone that the pill chose for you.
Yeah.
Oh, it just blew my mind listening to that.
Yeah.
And
I can tell it's an important subject for you because you just swore for the first time.
All of us girls now can blame our shitty past boyfriends on the pill.
Yeah.
So,
which I'm sure isn't the only reason.
No, I'm just joking.
But I've definitely listened to podcasts before where I've heard a very similar thing, that the pill does disrupt your ability to correctly, if you like, select at that biological level a partner that's actually going to be like where your genes are going to come together and, if you like, move forward, like sort of adapt in a way that's more positive. So you're kind of like increasing, removing those genetic issues and combining the genetic pluses, if you like, together and to then.
It's like when two people come together.
Not that I necessarily believe the whole Darwinian thing, on the face of it, but like it's kind of like that natural selection process where we're sort of like doing that intuitively.
So that was one thing that really stood out to me listening to this podcast today, and then other helpful bits and pieces involved in it where she referred to postpartum when a lady has a baby as the 4th trimester. And I haven't finished this podcast completely, so there might be more information I haven't got to share, but I recommend it. She sort of talked about, the care that a woman really needs post giving birth versus what the modern world expects of a woman.
Yeah.
I mean, not to go on a feminist rant or anything. That's not how I think. But, to the expectation that, you have your 6-week checkup to make sure there's no infection or whatever, and then you're good to go and you should be...
Wow. So you can go back to work if you know...
Oh, yeah. Like, only if you have the luxury of not being at work, you still should be... Like, it's been 6 weeks, you've had your baby 6 weeks ago, like, you should be sort of, back to who you are now, whereas what the research is finding is that it takes a good 12 months to really restore the nutrients that are lost during childbirth and to restore the body from what is, like, such an athletic feat having in birth.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, it really
such
takes
a physical impact. Like, I can't even.
It's just saying, like,
blows my mind to even consider.
I know. Saying you really need to think about the fact that you're still healing for the next 12 months and give yourself that time and that care. And so there was a lot of sort of little tips and hints about that, and also for baby as well, like, making sure that you sleep in a completely dark room and your child is asleep in a completely dark room, like no Winnie the Pooh, like night lights or anything like that, because you're not teaching your baby this is night time, you've got to be in that circadian rhythms, this is night time, this is sleep. You're going to teach them not to be afraid of the dark because they're used to it. They just know dark is
Yeah.
But yeah, look, there was just lots of very interesting information that came out of what I was listening to, and I'm sure as we discuss your thoughts on the matter, more information will come back to me. But, those were my standouts. And then
takeaways from that podcast?
And also one thing I'll mention that I completely agree with was, Dave had to ask the question, quite cheekily. So, like how long after your wife's had the baby are you allowed to have sex with them? He said, is it 5 years? Is it 7 years? Obviously.
Making a joke.
Yeah. Of the fact that, there's apparently this drop in libido. And what she said was, it's not a drop in libido. It's the fact that you haven't had your hormones balanced.
Exactly. Yeah.
It can do with, years of being on the pill or, whatever's happened for you during pregnancy. And so if you find that you're 3 months out of pregnancy and you're still not, wanting to be intimate with your partner, you really need to go and see your doctor or see a naturopath and take that as a warning sign, because we're naturally meant to always be in that sort of state of, especially when you're having children or at the age of having children, like you should naturally always be fertile and wanting to reproduce. Yeah.
Now that's something, I suppose that's something that I find really interesting, and I'm going to say something that I've read about before or heard about in podcasts being discussed or audiobooks. I can't exactly remember from where, and I'm by no means an expert, and it doesn't mean this is anything I say is necessarily true, but in light of what we're talking about, if you take our hormones, like the predominantly female hormones like estrogen and the predominantly male hormone testosterone, obviously we both have a measure of each in our genders. We're all human beings, so we all basically made up of the same thing. But it's interesting how, as you're saying before, when you'll talk, because there's something that I wanted to ask you is about that whole sex thing, because I really, as most men out there, I don't think have, and I don't, and I'll be quite honest about this, I really have no idea how that works during pregnancy or during each of the trimesters of pregnancy, or even, as you've already discussed, immediately afterwards.
Well, men, you should pleasure your women when they are pregnant, because then she has an orgasm and then the baby's like swimming in oxytocin basically and having a wonderful time.
Wow.
In there.
Okay. So what you're feeling is directly transferred to the child, I suppose, in terms of chemicals.
Yes.
And hormones that you're producing in your body.
Correct. Yeah.
That's incredible.
So, get to it as often as you can when your wife's pregnant. And I think that maybe that may mean like being a selfless lover for a while when your wife is pregnant. Like it might not always be about the man kind of, getting in there and getting it off. But I think as long as you're, making sure that she's having orgasms pretty consistently during pregnancy, it's going to do nothing but wonders for your wife and the baby.
Yep.
But I mean, I've never been pregnant, but from pregnant friends, I can certainly anecdotally say that a lot of women really, when you're like 5 months, 6 months, 7 months in, the thought of, having a husband on top of you is probably a little less appealing.
Because you don't feel sexy, I suppose, is what the difficulty is there.
And I think like there's a lot going on downstairs as well. So
absolutely.
Maybe there's sensitivity or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I suppose it comes back to something I was going to mention before I sort of launched into that all-important sex question. Is that we've both got that measure of testosterone and estrogen, and testosterone is that, if you like, to break it simply down into, kind of archetypal, purposes of that hormone, it's a fiery hormone. It's there for the purpose of really, encouraging us to procreate.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That very spark, that, fiery sort of hormone. Obviously, it does a lot of things in terms of regulating the body, but most of it's kind of like in terms of taking action, where estrogen is almost like the water. It's a vessel hormone. It's protective.
Yeah.
It causes you to bloat because it's trying to protect the body. If your body's producing a lot of it, it's probably what's causing that bloating that women often experience during their menstrual cycles, because it's trying to protect you. And maybe that means it's out of balance if you're too bloated, right? Because you're still supposed to have testosterone, because that
bloating is something wrong.
Yeah. Look, I know, but it's what I find interesting is, like, I think a lot of women take stuff that makes their menstrual cycle uncomfortable as if that's the way it's supposed to happen, and that's just what it is like. And like, I wonder what your thoughts are on that. Like, we're talking about pregnancy, and contraception, I suppose. And the thing is, and you said that contraception was used often to regulate people, a woman's menstrual cycle. So if, say you've got a woman that has a particularly heavy menstrual cycle, or she feels there's a lot of bloating, like, that's just not normal, is it? Like, that's what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah, look, I don't know what is and what isn't normal in this day and age, because I think there's so many factors that come into it, but I certainly think a modern woman probably has a much rougher time having a period than a tribal lady would have back in the day. And I mean, we've come a long way hygienically, and that's great. Like, we've got that side of it that's much easier for women. But I don't think women, before pesticides, before hormones in the food, before the pill, before all of that stuff, would have experienced what a lot of women do these days when it comes to having that, menstrual cycle and all the stuff that comes along with it.
Do you think all those stresses that women experience in just having a, regular, I suppose, menstrual cycle that they can deal with, a lot of those stresses in the modern society that causes those imbalances, do they also directly translate to, say, cause imbalances potentially when you have a pregnancy?
Yeah, I think that all of it plays into, I think, the same as modern women have a lot more factors hitting them in terms of their menstrual cycle. I think we have a lot more factors hitting us when it comes to being pregnant and carrying a healthy pregnancy.
Yeah.
Because we're just so inundated with pollution and chemicals and hormones, and whether it be the pill or whether it be what you're eating or the air that you're breathing in, like, it's just a different world now. And I can't imagine how that wouldn't impact on carrying a baby.
Yeah. I suppose, given what you shared earlier, that we're planning on conceiving within the next year and, having a child or two, which is what you want.
Yeah, we're having twins.
This is
Make it happen.
Yeah, Ash just wants to get it over and done with, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that think that's a good idea, and a lot of people that say wait till you have them and you wished you didn't.
Yeah.
But that aside, I suppose the question I wanted to ask is, given that this podcast is really about finding that information out there, whether they've been audiobooks or podcasts, that we can find useful and apply to improve our life.
Yeah.
What do you think are the biggest takeaways from what you listened to this morning in regards to baby being in the best place to baby creating and building the baby?
Well, I think before you maybe marry someone or decide to commit to having a child with someone, you want to make sure you've been off the pill for a while so that your mitochondria is not attracting you to the wrong guy.
Yes, that's genetically, obviously.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of, psychology is another factor.
Yes. I think I have a lot more research to do when it comes to building baby, and another book that I want to get, it's going to be my honeymoon read. It's a book called The Better Baby Book.
Better Baby Book.
And it's by my audiobook boyfriend, Dave Asprey, and his wife,
your
Dr. Lana.
Podcast.
Yeah.
Your new podcast love.
And that's all of sort of his research in how you can have a healthy pregnancy, and his wife's as well. I plan to read that, and I might be able to give you some better takeaways or better tips and hints than what I currently have. It's all very new to me.
Yeah.
I said, I haven't always considered myself to be the pregnant type. So
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose what I've learned from today, and this is, I think, very important for if there's men listening to this podcast out there, and if you are, well done for still listening, getting this far. I suppose what I've learned is just the general importance of having a positive mindset towards life. Like, you're having a baby because you want to have a loving family and hopefully you love your partner. So with that in mind, I think it's important to, given the different roles when it comes to building a baby together, you're right, I think a man has to be selfless in this situation and try to create an environment for his wife and by proxy, obviously, the baby, where that isn't stressful, where she's not pumping cortisol through her body, where she can manage her testosterone and her estrogen levels and her adrenals and her thyroid appropriately, so that, the baby can get the best chance possible.
Absolutely.
And lastly, before you drop me off to go to work, and this podcast comes to a close, men out there, please pleasure your women when they're pregnant.
And when they're not.
Yeah. Obviously, that's going to be hard because, as we discussed, a woman's not going to feel like very sexy, and all the stuff that's going on hormonally and in her body may not put her in a position where she may want to have sex. Perhaps remind her how important it is for the baby and how important she is to you, and how important that part of a relationship generally is for not just both of you, but the baby that's in there, and feeling all that oxytocin. All right. Well, I'm just about to get dropped off, so that brings episode 4 of the Content Couple to a close. Again, we appreciate you if you're listening out there, and we hope you continue to do so. I'm Matt, and
I'm Ashley.
And we hope you have a wonderful day.
Bye, everyone.
Hi, this is Matt, and thank you for listening to another episode of The Content Couple. Ashy and I appreciate you, and appreciate that you have chosen to invest a small part of your day listening to our contribution to the podcast world. We love podcasts, understand there are thousands, and we are grateful you have chosen us. We believe nothing is more important than our time and yours, and we hope that in sharing how we acquire and apply what we learn, that you will take away something that will enrich your life. For Ashy and I, this podcast is a leap out of our comfort zone and a change to our normal everyday life. Our aim is to share and contribute, and we cannot do that without you. If you have enjoyed our experiment in self-awareness and self-esteem, we would be very grateful if you could quickly jump on iTunes, subscribe to our tribe, and give us that 5-star ratings that will help other awesome people like you find us.